Hi, thank you for joining Dr. Victoria and Darcia again on the Healthful Roots podcast. Today I have Fitz Koehler, who is the owner of Fitzness, and we are going to be talking about not only her business, but also her battle with breast cancer and what got her through and how she maintained her positive attitude and also her fitness throughout her battle. So I'm really excited to have you on and thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on your show. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to start at the beginning because, looking into your background, it looks like you've done quite a bit, but it sounds like you started with the master's degree in exercise and sports science. Um, how did that kind of project you into like what you're doing now? What was the sequence of events?
Right. So actually, I got started when I was just right before I turned 15. I
Oh.
started teaching group fitness classes at a fitness center, Spa Lady in Fort Lauderdale. I lied. I told them I was older than I was, so they'd give me the job. And thankfully, they did. I had no certification, no training. They just said, "Hey, will you teach a class on Friday night?" And I thought, I'll give it a go. So thankfully, I'm a gamer and I said yes. But I fell in love. I fell in love right away with fitness, the way it made me feel, the way it allowed me to connect with other people. And then I started seeing the way it was changing my own life and changing other people's lives. I saw people go from overweight to fit and confident, and their social lives improve and their professional world improve. And I really became a big believer in fitness, thinking, wow, this thing is really handy dandy. And then I went to University of Florida, go Gators. And during undergrad, I taught fitness on a cruise ship all around the world during summers. I auditioned for a fitness television show. Thankfully, I was cast and started teaching fitness on TV. And that was pretty powerful stuff because I was accustomed to helping all of these people that showed up for my classes when I was a group fitness instructor. But then all of a sudden, strangers were approaching me and saying, "Oh my gosh, are you Fitz?" And I'd say yes. And they'd say, "I love you so much. And I work out with you every day. And I've lost 17 pounds, or my back no longer hurts, or this thing is great." And it was really impactful to me that I was able to help strangers, because it's, either there's 60 people in front of you each night or thousands, millions via mass media. And I became addicted to that. And I thought, okay, that's what I want to do. And I had already been speaking and doing keynotes and so forth, but television not only got me hooked on helping large amounts of people, but it also allowed me to believe that I could have a career in fitness, because most people teaching fitness is a job. It's a side job. They do a real thing and then they teach a couple classes at night, or maybe they have a wealthy spouse, but fitness is not really something that most people can own a house, own some cars, pay them off, take their kids to Disney on occasion. It was a job. And because of those insecurities, I had considered not doing fitness. But then once I started having success in television and writing articles for magazines and so forth and speaking, I thought, okay, I can make a real living out of this. And my desperate hunt since then has been to reach as many people as possible, to make fitness understandable, attainable, and fun, and help them live better and longer. And so thankfully, I've been pretty successful with that. I haven't yet reached every human on earth, which is frustrating to me, but I am hoping I still have time to do that.
Yeah, but I mean, it looks like you're on your way because you have a lot of different programs. I saw the one for schools. It was like the mile before schools. Is that?
It's called the Morning Mile, and it's a
Mhm.
before school walking running program. Kids at each school get about 30 minutes each morning, and they can show up. They can walk real slow for one lap, or they can stick around and run real fast for 5 miles. It's up to them. It's really fun. It's inclusive. 100% of the student body is welcome every day, and as well as faculty and families. And there's a great system of rewards. And I have it in over 400 schools worldwide, which again is great, but
Yeah.
not enough, because I want every single student doing it and all of their families. So that's morningmile.com if anyone wants to learn more about that, because I'm really excited to get more kids moving in the mornings.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, for many reasons, but also one of them is that kids are moving less now. So
Oh,
the
yeah.
more the
Yeah. And
morning
they
mile.
learn better. They learn better. It's proven that if they start their day in an active way, not only are they healthier and they feel better, but they have better academic success and they get in trouble less often. So it's a win
Mm.
win win with such a simple solution.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you also started announcing at like races.
Yeah, so I've been doing that for just over 10 years. And so if people have no idea what being a race announcer is, I am the voice people hear when they show up to run a major running event, such as the Fargo Marathon or the Gasparilla Distance Classic in Tampa. So I announce races all over the country. And when runners show up, usually at the events I host, there are thousands, from
Mhm.
1 to 30,000 athletes. They come, they hear great music coming off a professional sound system and my voice. And I'm there to get them engaged, informed, entertained. I I connect with people. I mean, for me, when I'm on a stage with 20,000 runners, I feel like we're sitting in the kitchen chit-chatting about whatever. And I have so much fun with them. Again, it's just another opportunity to connect with wonderful people. But at some point, I whip them into a frenzy. I yell, go, they leave, and I'm sad that they're gone because we were having so much fun. And then when they make their way back to the finish line, whether they've run a 5K or a 1 mile or a half marathon or a full, I am there to make every single athlete feel like a champion from the first to the dead last finisher. My goal is to turn every start line into a rock concert and every finish line into a love fest, and I do that all over America. And it's just a really cool extension of what I do as a fitness professional, because with
Mhm.
fitness, I have to do a lot of arm twisting. I'm sure you feel the same way. We're constantly trying to convince people, exercise, eat right, do all these things. And then on race day, some event coordinator says, hey, we've got 10,000 people who already want to exercise. Can you make sure they know what to do, know where to go, and have a great time? And I'm like, oh, it's a day off. It's such a blessing. I love it.
Yeah, that does sound like fun, and it's interesting because I never really heard about that like being a job before, and then I saw that you
Yeah.
did that, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
Well, it's very funny. When I show up at a race, I put it in a lot of effort. There's a lot of skill involved and time. And then people still say, do you get paid for that? Yeah. Do they fly you in? Yes. It's a real profession. And there's not really a lot of us who do it as a real job type thing, but it's been a wonderful part of my career.
Yeah, and so that's what I wanted to chat with you about because, reading about you and one of the books that you published, My Noisy Cancer Comeback. In that book, you talk about how you had to navigate your cancer treatment and diagnosis with your career. And that was one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about because I think that for some people, a lot of things kind of hit pause or like a back burner. And it sounds like that wasn't the case for you.
Yeah, I mean, we all have choices to make. And some people, they get diagnosed with brain cancer when they start having seizures, and work is never going to be an option again. So, cancer, good versus bad, the worst versus the lowest level of being caught and clipped is not a competition, right? But for my situation, I was diagnosed with stage 2B breast cancer 6 weeks after a crystal clear mammogram, and I was set out for 21 rounds of chemotherapy over the course of 15 months, which was a very long time, 33 rounds of radiation and some surgery. I had a lumpectomy. And my doctor said, hey, it's going to be rough, but we will cure you. And he was right. And so I had decisions to make up front. And while many people were warning, you should hide out, stay in bed, quit your job, wear a mask. That's before anybody was wearing a mask, which I thought was absolutely insane. But I just thought, hell no. I mean, I am fighting to live. If, let's say, cancer does kill me, I could have died during surgery. I could have had an adverse reaction to chemotherapy. Can you imagine how appalling it would have been if I had wasted the last three months of my life just hiding? Right? We hide people that are highly contagious or are criminals, right? Or highly insane. Someone's out to hurt other people. Cancer patients should be living life to the fullest because they know life is short, right? We might not get many more days. So I just decided I was going to continue on with the things that made my life better. And that was my kids, Ginger and Parker. They were 13, 15 at the time. And I decided if they had a show, a sport, a ceremony, come hell or high water, I was going to be there. And I was, even during the worst days. And I think people should know is I wasn't cute and yay, cancer's easy. I was violently ill for 15 months. It was like having a tequila hangover or food poisoning every single day. And I lost 14 pounds and I was bald and I was gray. And I still chose to keep going because I knew that being with my kids made me better. And I knew that doing the work that I love, this thing that fuels me, would make me better. And so for 30 something times, I went to my Gainesville airport where I live and I flew out to go keynote or race announce. And the travel was miserably difficult, but it was worth it because when I stepped onto those stages, every single thing that was wrong with me, when I was surrounded by those people, those incredible people that I cared about, and those events I was thrilled to be serving, every single thing disappeared. I wasn't sick. I wasn't tired. I wasn't suffering. Those were some of the only moments in the 15-month time span where I got to be full force Fitz Koehler again. And so for me, it's my career and my kids. And those things were truly lifesavers while I was going through treatment. But what I really want to implore to anyone else going through any sort of hardship, whether it's cancer or MS or divorce or your house burns down or those poor folks in Asheville, the hurricane victims who haven't been helped, right? Is okay, they should still do things that fuel them, that make them better. And of course, exercise is great in any situation. It's proven stress management, immune system booster. It's good for your mental and physical health. But maybe you like doing crocheting, or you like painting, or you like looking for shark's teeth, or listening to music, whatever it is. Those things need to be a part of your days when they're good days. And they definitely need to be a part of your days when the days are difficult, because they're the things that will carry you through. So I know I'm long winded, but I'm really passionate about that. I don't want people hiding out unless they have to, unless there's no other choice, right? If you are in the hospital, they remove both of your legs and you've got raw incisions, fine, stay put for a little bit, but then get out. Life is short, and there are special things in the world that will make you feel better. Only you know what those things are.
Yes, I agree. Thank you for sharing that. And one of the questions that I have, because it sounds like you did have some like, physical symptoms that could have held you back, but did you have to kind of reset any like mental blocks that you had during that time?
I'm really fortunate. I'm a joy addict. So I'm one of those people that I really do wake up on the sunny side of the bed almost every day. I will fight to find the bright side, and so perspective was always my sidekick. That's the thing that got me through everything. And when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was so scared. I was really terrified that I was not going to see my kids grow up, and the stress was inordinate. However, I decided pretty quickly that instead of having a why me, I decided why not me? There are babies in the hospital with cancer, and there are so many
Mm.
parents who are watching their children go through cancer care. And I just thought, how lucky am I to be a grown up with cancer? And even more importantly, that it wasn't my kids. So I seek out joy. I prefer joy. Perspective is my ride or die bestie type thing. And so I didn't have to really change who I was. I leaned in further. I became an even more extreme version of this, figure out how to have fun. And, sometimes they say you laugh so hard you cry. What I found is sometimes you cry so much or so hard that you have to laugh. And pretty quickly, I was in a very warped way able to flip the script and all the things that really were. And I would cry. Trust me, I cried probably every day during treatment. But I would boohoo. I'd usually go in the bathroom or my car alone and boohoo for a few, and then I'd get on with it. And I my eyes changed colors at one point, and I was like, "What in the world?" And then it became hilarious that my eyes changed color, and people treated me in weird ways, and that became really funny after a while too. So I didn't have to change much. When I hit that fork in the road,
Mhm.
I knew exactly which path to stay on. But yeah, I think you got to have this mental game ready, set. You got to work on your mental game now, because
Yeah.
if you're wishy-washy when life's easy, just wait. When you get struck by lightning or your kid gets hit by a bus, you could really fall apart, or you can go into any sort of crisis prepared. When you got cut from those teams as a kid, or you applied for the job and they didn't hire you, every single time someone punched you in the face with a rejection, that steals you, that prepares you for the big stuff. And so practice having a good attitude and making strong decisions now, and they will carry you through the bad times. They certainly did me.
Yeah, I agree with that. And what about fitness? Was that still part of your routine during that time?
Absolutely. And so I definitely wasn't able to do the things I had done before, right? I was sick. I was a sick person. However, I knew that if I did not uh, pursue exercise as much as I could and quality nutrition as much as I could, I was going to I my decline was going to be at warp speed.
Mm.
And mind you, I did. I got to the point where I was a little skeleton and my mother was screaming, "You look like you're in the Holocaust. You need to eat." And I was thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm trying. This is hard, right?"
Yeah.
However, on sick days, if I was stuck in bed, I was doing leg lifts. I was doing bridges. I was doing stretches in the shower. There's always something you can do. I wasn't able to go running like I had been previously all the time, but could I lift some smaller dumbbells or do some stretching? I definitely did. And my doctor at one point, it was a particularly rough day before my sixth round of very mean chemo. And my doctor had told me, he said, "You're doing great. I'm so proud of you." And I said, "What in the world are you talking about, mister? I'm not doing great. I'm a catastrophe. Everything is wrong with me. I've lost weight. I'm gray. My fingernails have ripped off." He said, "Listen, I'm not saying you haven't suffered, but what I'm telling you is if you weren't so committed to fitness before cancer and during your treatment, you would have been hospitalized for a month. I'm giving you the meanest drugs I give anybody, any of my cancer patients. I'm giving you the worst. And yet you still keep going. You're not only not hospitalized, you not only don't have a feeding tube, but you're traveling all around America doing this wacky thing you do for a career. So, yes, you're suffering, but your fitness has really paid off. And that really, even me knowing how important fitness is, that's when a light bulb really went off. And I thought, okay, uh, yeah, I get it. I get it. This
Yeah.
is like a saving grace. This is preventing me from even worse. And I could only imagine what even worse would have looked like. So that was eye opening. And then once I got past the meanest first 5 months of chemo and surgery was behind me, I started rebuilding my body. And fortunately, I'm a fitness pro, so I knew how to do that, right? I went baby steps in the teeny tiniest little ways. I never had a setback because I never pushed the envelope too hard. But yeah, strength, flexibility, cardio, balance, I did it all. I tried to get 1% better every day. And about a year after finishing chemo, a year after finishing over a year of chemo, I ran the Boston Marathon. So yay me. I had my great comeback story, but most importantly, I used that experience to help others. So that's where the Your Healthy Cancer Comeback was written, is because when I hit rock bottom, I was thinking about the others. Like, okay, I know how to go. I know where to go from here, but I couldn't imagine being any of my millions of peers, cancer patients who were brutalized and had no idea how to get back to normalcy or even vibrancy, right? And so trying to make lemonade over that very difficult experience by helping others.
Yeah, and I think that you bring up an important point. And I mean, obviously, I've thought about this not in the setting of cancer, but just also as you get older. So it applies to
Yeah,
both. Is that like when you train and when you're eating healthy, like it's not just this thing that you're supposed to do, right? I think it's preparing you for other things in life, whether it's cancer treatment or just like how you want to live your life, when you're in your 80s or 90s, right? And I don't think that a lot of people have like, at least when it comes to getting older, like they don't see it in the moment. Like going to the gym is annoying or like eating healthy is hard, but like they're not seeing like why, like that why.
absolutely. And I think if we all envision what type of not just old, but elderly person we want to be, who do we want to be when we're 85, 90? Think about yourself. If we're fortunate enough to make it, are we stuck in bed all day? Are
Mhm.
we in a wheelchair? Are we falling down, black eyes, broken hips? Is that who we want to be? Or are we one of those older folks who's strapping, just standing up straight? We're sharp as a tack, our brains in order, and we can do the things we want to do. Those people have been strength training, right? They might not have been bodybuilders, but they have worked on their back strength. That's why they can stand up straight. They've worked on flexibility. Maybe they've done yoga or Tai Chi or Pilates or karate. I don't know. But if you work on your flexibility and mobility and your strength and your cardio endurance, you will be one of those grown-ups who are standing up, able to function, to golf, to dance, to shop by yourself. And then you'll be less likely to fall down. And muscle mass definitely diminishes as we age. That's one of those brutal side effects of aging, but you can prevent that. You can work against it, and you can keep your muscles. It's funny. I call him my boyfriend, Rich Williams. I met him on his 81st birthday. I was announcing the Monterey Half Marathon in California, and he came up to get his second place age group award, or maybe first place. He won that age group, and I found out it was his birthday. So I made the whole crowd sing happy birthday to Rich Williams. And man, this guy is strapping. I ran a half marathon, strong shoulders, still muscular chest, that little
Hmm.
bulge guys have, the good muscles up top. And I swooned, and I said, Rich, told everybody, this is my new boyfriend. And his wife, who was like 75 at the time, she doesn't mind. And he's still my boyfriend, and he's almost 90,
Yeah.
and he's still running half marathons, 25 of them a year, and he's still strapping, but he works on that. And so I know some 20-year-olds who think, oh my gosh, I could never run a half marathon. It's not about that. It's just about you putting in the effort to at least maintain, right? Maintain where you are and don't get worse. But ideally, work to get better. Again, 1% better every day. You'd be surprised. You could be better than you were in your teens, in your 50s, if you're just
Hmm.
constantly trying to get 1% better.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I liked about running. I used to run in high school, was that every day you could see some improvement, right? Even if
Yeah,
it wasn't a major improvement, maybe it didn't feel as bad as the day before, or you ran a little bit
right.
farther. So yeah, no, I love running. And that leads me to my next question. What does what do your health non-negotiables look like?
Okay, so it's those four pillars of fitness. And some people think, oh, I walk, so I'm fit. No, you have to be proficient in four pillars of fitness to qualify as a truly fit human. That is cardiorespiratory fitness. That's your heart and lungs. That's your capacity to go, your endurance. Strength. Strength is my number one area of fitness, because strength is the fountain of youth. It's the thing that will make us more resilient, less likely to be injured. Same goes for flexibility. They're stretching, right? That's your mobility, your ability to bend and reach and torque without injury. So cardio, strength, flexibility, and then balance. My poor mom, golly, she's fallen probably 20 times over the past 4 years. She's had broken wrists and shoulder and elbow, and she keeps breaking things. And I know one of these falls are going to lead to a premature death. So balance, balance, balance. It's as simple as standing on one foot while you brush your teeth, or check
Yeah.
out at the grocery. Do it on one foot, and you will be far less likely to fall. So those are non-negotiables. And then when it comes to nutrition, I would say 80 to 90% of the things I put in my mouth are good for me. I actually eat lots of fruits and veggies. I eat lots of beans and nuts. I'm a vegetarian. That's because of moral issues. So I have friends that are cows and chickens, and I couldn't do any harm. So I'm a vegetarian. I do think it's a healthier way to go, but a lot of people will debate that. So I encourage you, if you are a carnivore, then maybe make more, try to increase the amount of plant-based meals you have, and
Hmm.
perhaps just decrease your red meat, since they are, I believe they're listed as a class 2B carcinogen. So less is probably more when we talk about red meat. But yeah, and then never smoke. No way. I smoke nothing. Period. End of story. Always wear sunscreen, of course, helmets and seatbelts. And I'm little to no alcohol, which probably makes me sound like a bore, but I like to think I'm one of the most fun girls in town. But yeah, I don't want to inflict harm on myself. And when I was going through chemo, I remember it was so hard. Oh my gosh. I mean, it was really a difficult time. But one of the things I thought when I sat there is, holy cow. I mean, I had no idea why I had breast cancer. It's probably one of those, environmental things, or one of those dyes in my food. I don't know. But if I were in that chair because I had smoked for 20 years, or because I refused to wear sunscreen, it would have been so much worse knowing that I inflicted that harm on myself. So yeah, folks, don't do harm. Everything I can do to make me healthy, I do. And then I have a little bit of fun. I eat chocolate every single day, milk chocolate, and I don't feel bad about it at all. I also drink Diet Coke decaffeinated, boom. And some newbie yoga people always look at me and say, oh my gosh, she drinks Diet Coke. How awful. But I'm not perfect. Perfect's boring.
Yeah, and you don't have to be perfect. I think what you said is that you eat healthy 80, 90% of the time. It's the consistency that matters.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And do I have a slice of pizza here and there? For sure. Yeah, definitely I do. But I'm not an excuse person, and I don't overeat, and I really care about my body. Sometimes I'll go to, I don't know, my daughter loves bagels. Oh, that's really punishing because I know it's just white flour, right? And I think, oh, maybe that looks tasty, and I just think, I don't want to put that in me. But that really also requires an elevated knowledge base. Most people don't go towards a bagel and think they don't really know how unbeneficial that product is, right? So I think as I mature, as I age, as I learn, I'm becoming a little cleaner as I go.
Yeah, and it takes time. One thing I did want to ask you about, and then I'm going to ask you about your books, was Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
Can you share that experience?
Yeah, so up front, I did not do the one on ABC television. It wasn't that, although I would kill for that experience. It seems a lot of fun. I was invited to do a Dancing with the Stars fundraiser for a national dance company called Dance Alive National Ballet. And so they choose muckety mucks in town and pair them with a professional dancer. And much like the TV show, we all picked our dance. I chose the jive like a fool. Uh, I Googled, I said, what is the most athletic ballroom dance? What's the most rowdy ballroom dance? And every time I asked, I kept getting jive. And I thought, okay, let's do that because I'm pretty rowdy. And oh my gosh, there were many times where I was rehearsing thinking, why did I do this to myself? Because it was real, not
Yeah.
only really vigorous, but it's fast, and I have zero dance background. I mean, I've got rhythm and a fit body, and those things are beneficial, but it was tricky. But that performance was freaking awesome. I did a backflip mid dance. My partner did a backflip. We jived our brains out to Proud Mary. We got the whole ballroom up and cheering, and it was such a fun piece of the night. And for me, I was super proud that I did something publicly that I wasn't necessarily going to be good at. I just, starting by not cowering, because a lot of people get invited to do these type of competitions and say, no way would I ever dance in front of others. But to just put that aside and say, who cares? I'm going to go have fun. And I did. And that morning I woke up and I don't know, some video popped up, memory of me just like bald and sick and in a bad place. And I just thought, how freaking cool is this? If that girl 5 years ago or 4 years ago knew that she was going to be doing this one day, that all the sick feelings would go away, and then she would be here jiving, not only in front of a ballroom with 600 people, but live stream. And I didn't have one butterfly, not one. I just was excited, and I just bubbled over with joy while we did. And I got to wear a really pretty dress and cool high heeled dance shoes, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm still ballroom dancing. That's something that I enjoyed so much. The choreographer that worked with us for the jive, I hire him, and once a week I do ballroom dancing.
That's great. I saw your
so
video.
great.
You looked like you were having fun. Like you can see it on your face that you were having such a great time. And I love
Thank you.
dancing. Is a jive still your favorite or has that changed?
That's a great question. We've been doing a lot of the Latin dances. They call them rhythm in ballroom, but I really like salsa and
Mhm.
cha-cha and samba. I would say salsa and cha-cha are probably my favorites right now. And my instructor makes me do the Viennese waltz and the
Yeah.
foxtrot. Those are fine. I enjoy them while I'm doing them. But if I'm going to choose, I would definitely salsa or cha-cha right now. Good question.
Oh yeah, no, those are fun.
And do you
Samba I always thought
ballroom?
was hard. I used to ballroom. I want to get back into it. It's been a couple years, but I loved dancing, and I feel like when you're done, you just come away with I don't know, it's just like you feel like lighter when you're done dancing.
And you know what I really like is I love holding my instructor's hand or my old dance partner's hand. It's just nice to be connected with a nice person like that. And I mean, there's nothing sexual or
Oh
inappropriate
no,
about
yeah.
any of it. It's just, I love holding their hands. And when I was being coached for the Dancing with the Stars thing, my partner Tucker and he's only 18. Oh my gosh, he was a pro dancer, but 18. We would just stand there holding hands. I was just like, I like this. I like this very much. It's a lovely thing to do. I hope everybody would give it a try, even if you don't feel like you have great dance moves. I think anybody can learn at least on a low level, and it's good for your body. It's good for your spirit.
Yeah, I agree. Good for the spirit for sure. All right, and then the next thing I wanted to get into was your books, right?
Yes.
I mentioned My Noisy Cancer Comeback, and then you have another one there with you. How are they different? Do you have any others, by the way?
I do. I do. So the first book I wrote 15 years ago was the Everything Flat Belly Cookbook. That was part
Hmm.
of the Everything series. So that was my start into being an author. And then there's three in the Cancer Comeback series. It's My Noisy Cancer Comeback. That one's the memoir. Your Healthy Cancer Comeback. That's the guidebook for people who
Mhm.
want to go from sick to strong. And then there's the Healthy Cancer Comeback Journal. And that's where people can document their treatment details and all of the, their feelings, their faith, their family stuff, all the funny things, and then log their journey from sick to strong.
Okay. Okay, I see. I like that. I like how you have like the memoir and then the guide and then the journal. That was a great
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I mean, the memoir, there was just I had kind of kept I couldn't keep the cancer thing private because I was going to show up on stage as bald. I never wore a wig or anything. I just decided no. And so I did have to go public and tell people, hey, I've got cancer, but I told them, I said, I'm going to be fine. You can root for me. No pity. I will show up and perform as expected. And everybody was very kind. But I didn't want, as things went along, as I was beaten down and dragged behind a horse, I never wanted people to pity me. So I just didn't tell them what was going on at the time. They'd say, how are you doing? I'd say, I'm just great, even if I was falling apart. But along the way, I realized I had made some really good decisions up front that were truly benefiting me. And I thought, oh, people could really benefit from these decisions too. And then things got so crazy, they became hilarious. And there was, I mean, golly, so many funny stories. And I kept thinking, God, people would laugh if they heard what went on behind the scenes. Uh, they would laugh so hard. And so those are the reasons I wrote the memoir. I just thought, well, people could learn and I can help them do better and be better and prioritize fitness during health and sickness. And then also, I think they'll laugh. And then that's a feedback I get from people who read My Noisy Cancer Comeback. They all say, Fitz, you got raw and I cried. But then they say, I laughed a whole lot more. And then most importantly, they say, my perspective has changed and, I'm doing better because of it. So yay for that book. And then the guidebook really came from when I hit rock bottom. And I thought this would suck if I wasn't a fitness expert because there are no great
Mm.
resources out there. I had looked, there was some nurse wrote something 15 years ago and it had nothing to really do with fitness. I mean, this book is full color and there's a whole section where there's photos teaching people how to exercise in bed. These are
Oh,
exercises you
wow.
can do on sick days or exercise in a chair. There's foods that help, foods that hurt. It's very precise, geared towards cancer patients that will help get them through this from diagnosis through the treatment starting from radiation. Maybe you're going to have a amputation, right? How are you going to manage that? We talk about that. And then complementary care, acupuncture, mental health, sexual health counseling, massage. What can you do to make your situation less difficult? So all of that's in there. And I'm so pleased that so many oncologists recommend them for their patients. So many oncologists have purchased them in bulk for their patients and as have cancer centers. So, you know, it's doing what it's supposed to do. Although, as I said earlier, I want every single cancer patient on earth to have which one? This one, Your Healthy Cancer Comeback. If I wish on diagnosis they would get this book, and I think they would all do much better with it.
No, I agree. And I think that that's one of the things, right? When you get diagnosed with cancer that is missing, it's like, what comes next? Like, what do I do? Right. And I think a lot of people are left to navigate it on their own.
Yeah, and there's endless evidence that prove exercise and nutrition, people can weaponize it to get themselves closer to remission and less likely to have a recurrence. And so I would say close to all oncology medical personnel are telling their patients, you should exercise, you should eat right. Well, thanks, doc, because it's a lot more complicated than that, and I know
Yes.
these doctors and nurses aren't fitness professionals, but your digestive system's going through a cheese grater. How do you eat nutritiously in that situation? Exercise. Okay, well, I've been puking all day. How do I do that? Well, that's what's in this book. That's what I bring to the table. And so I wish every single cancer patient would on earth would get it. And folks can buy them on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and they make great gifts. I'd say most of them are purchased as gifts for loved ones. And then if people buy the books at fitzNess.com, that's FITZNESS.com, I sign all the books. I put in these cute little cancer comeback stickers, and I wrap them in pretty wrapping and send them out with love. So they get a little extra if they buy from fitzNess.com, but it's the same book wherever you get it.
I mean, that's a good incentive though. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
like
think
that.
so. I think
Yeah, and so
so.
can you tell us more about your business? How has that gone? Because I mean, you're doing so much now. So what are the different branches of it, and what do you hope to see it evolve to in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like a one trick pony. This is what I do. I help fitness become understandable, attainable, fun. That's the mass vision for who I am, to help people live better and longer. And so I do that as a corporate speaker. I go do keynotes for big companies, nonprofits, etc. So that's literal messaging. I do it with the books. That's literal messaging, just teaching people, right, and encouraging them. The race announcing is an extension of that, and really, even though when I'm race announcing, I'm not teaching fitness, if I can make that experience awesome, absolutely mind blowing fun for all the participants, they are far more likely to do it again. And so, whether they
Mhm.
come back to my race or just go do another, I have motivated them to keep putting one foot in front of another. And that really is very meaningful to me. The morning mile, that's one of the things I want on my tombstone, mother, wife, morning mile, because that, if we can get kids in the habit of starting each day in an active way in the most simple format, which is walking or running, they can do it in their skirts and cowboy boots. They don't have to wear anything special. They can just get up and go each day. And a lot of the kids do. They feel good. They feel better. We don't preach anything. There's no coaching at the morning mile, but those kids all of a sudden start eating better. They say, Mom, I'd like an apple today. Or can
Mhm.
we go do something active, right? Or they're better in sports. So the morning mile will have a profound effect on the future generations. And of course, their families right now, because we got a lot of, I'd tell you, we have plenty of mother, father weight loss success stories, or teachers because they started doing the morning mile. So it's all cohesive. And I find that the more I do race announcing, the more people are interested in listening to my I have a podcast too. It's called The Fitness Show. So those runners listen to the podcast. The people listening to my podcast, they're more likely to go do a race. Maybe they get the morning mile program started at their kids' school, or they buy these books for their friends going through cancer care. So, it's all intertwined, and it's going great. It'll never be enough until I reach every human on earth. It'll never be enough, but it's going great. I'm proud of my business, and the word retirement is a dirty word to me.
Well, no, and especially when it brings you so much joy. Like when you talk about
Yeah.
health and fitness, like you can see how it lights you up. So I don't think it's almost like it doesn't feel like a job, really.
No, no. I mean, there's a couple of worky things I do, but for the most part, it's a pleasure. And really, it's that connecting with people that I crave, and I'm so satisfied by. So the fact that I get to pay my bills doing this thing that really makes me so happy, I do love it. And what's really cute is people think my morning mile program is a nonprofit. And it's not. It's just this is one of my business efforts to get more people moving. And I wouldn't give up, and such an important program to be managed by a board of directors I do not trust. There's no way in hell I would turn this over to anyone else. It's that important. But the fact that people think components of my business are charitable causes because they're so good for society is really a great compliment. So thanks. I love what I do. I'm proud to make a living doing what I do, and I want to do more of it. I just want to do more of it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I just have one more question before
Yeah.
we have give people ways to connect with you. And that's if someone was listening to us today and they were like, I am so inspired now to get on the fitness train,
Yeah.
what would be your advice?
Well, it should be. as easy as humanly possible. I would say I have a master's degree in the most simple, stupid science on earth. It's move your body, watch what you put in your mouth. If you stick with those two simple principles, you're going to be okay. However, note that there are infinite amounts of free resources out there. So, of course, I have them at fitzness.com and the others. We'll talk about that in a moment. But, there are magazines, there are videos on YouTube. And I mean, there's information. If you are looking for ways to exercise better, there's myself and a bunch of other coaches that will guide you through it. And then when it comes to nutrition, for the most part, everything you learned in kindergarten, or most of the things you learn in kindergarten, are pretty true. So start leaning towards those fruits and vegetables and whole grains and nuts and seeds and lean protein sources. And when it comes to weight loss, that could be a little more complicated.
Yeah.
Don't fall for the lies. Don't fall for diets. If it has the word diet attached, it's garbage. I assure you, it's garbage. If somebody's selling a diet product or a diet pill, it's garbage. There are now medically, there are like the Ozempic things. Those things are real. They do come with some consequences, but they are legit. And you're not going to get anything good at the quote unquote nutrition store where they're going to sell you a container of weight loss powder. That's all garbage. It really comes down to you moving your body, strength, cardio, flexibility, balance. Do a little more of that every day. And watch what you put in your mouth. Yeah, I just said, get some sleep too. Sleep is really important. You shouldn't
Oh,
be
yeah. Sleep is super
tired.
important.
Tired people don't exercise. They barely eat right, and they're not so pleasant to be around. So get some good sleep.
Okay. And then what are the best ways for people to connect with you or learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, so fitzness.com is my home base for everything. Again, that's FITZ as in zebra, NESS. If you go to fitzness.com, you'll get everything you need to know about me. Most importantly, you'll learn everything you need to know about you with fitness. There's the exact formula for weight loss. Read that, even if you just want to lose 1 pound. It will make your life so much easier, and you will scratch your head thinking it can't be this simple. I have over 100 fitness videos where it's me exercising with you, recipes, all the stuff. And then I'm at Fitzness on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. I have Fitzness13 on TikTok. And listen, if you followed me, great. I promise quality content in return. But what I'd much prefer is to have friends than followers. So tell me you heard me on Dr. Victoria's podcast and let's connect because, again, I crave that.
No, I love that. And thank you so much for sharing. I think your story is so important because, you were so resilient and so vulnerable in sharing your story. And then I love how you've taken, you've loved it all your life, but like that passion and joy for like fitness and how you're sharing it with so many people. So thank you for being on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This has been a great conversation and I love what you do.
Thanks. And we're done.